Hey, welcome back YouTube. Hey, so today's video I'm going to be going over the price I pay for propane and CO2 today. Luckily I just bought both, so I get to show you my price breakdown and we talk about the other part of home brewing. I think that's a thing that a lot of home brewers and YouTubers often overlook, is just the price that we pay to home brew at home, either from the price of grain. We always talk about price for grain and hops, but we rarely talk about the price, how much we're spending per foot of tubing, or how much we pay for propane or CO2. So propane, where do I get my propane? I go to my local welding shop. That's where I get my propane and both my CO2. So what's cool about this place is I bring in the tank and I don't do an exchange. They fill it up right there in the back. They got a big, massive propane tank. I buy it per pound. So if the tank's halfway full, if I know I've got a big brew coming up, they'll just put what's in there and I pretty much just pay per pound propane. When it comes to CO2, I did buy my own CO2 tanks, so I just go in there and I do a straight up exchange. I know a lot of places have like a rent program, so you pay a deposit on the tank and you get a deposit back. I just went on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace and found really good price CO2 tanks that were food grade. You don't want nothing too rusty. You want to make sure the threads are still good, because if you ever do an exchange program at some places, if the CO2 tank is dirty or messed up, they actually won't allow you to exchange it out. Okay, so for CO2, CO2 is going to be it's not expensive, but it's also not cheap. So this is a standard 5-pound CO2 tank. It's your average size for home brewing. This is the kind of size you're going to see on the back of most Keezers, or even commercial keg graders. You go from like Home Depot or Lowe's or some other keg company. 5 pounds is going to be the standard size. You can get them up to the multiple pound sizes, but I stick with the 5. I actually have 2 of these, so I always keep one filled and also one is always in use. So for CO2, it cost me $20.70 to get an exchanged 5-pound CO2 container, and I think that's fair. I can get this last. I force carb a lot of my beers. I don't bottle, so everything comes from the single CO2 tank, plus I got a 5 splitter manifold in here, so I'm always running at least 5 or 6 kegs, and that'll last me at least a month, and that's if I'm force carving every single beer and also serving PSI. I run everything around 8 to 10 PSI depending on the beer. But yeah, so I have two of these. I highly recommend you get at least two, because when you run out of CO2 and you don't have a spare one ready to go, you could run into some problems. Now propane. So propane, I have 3 of the standard, I believe it's 20-pound tanks. It's your standard barbecue grill size. It's the ones you always see at those store kiosks. I had one, then I bought another one, and then I acquired another one from a friend that was moving and just didn't know what to do with it. So now I have 3 of these, and I think 3 is plenty, because you always run out of the first one. You got the second one there, you think you got enough, and the third one is the panic one. That's like midway through the boil. The first one's dead, you know that. The second one just kicks out on you, or you freeze it over, and the third one's always there just in case. My next investment is probably going to be to actually upgrade my propane tanks and even my CO2 tanks. And so for the price of propane, I'm spending $23 per fill for both of these. So today I filled up both of these. That's $46. So today for a single 5-pound of CO2 and then a 2 of the 20-pounder for propane, it was $58.41. So you got to take that into account every time you're brewing a beer. You are using propane, you are using CO2, you are using water. I just feel like that's something that nobody talks about. Even on electric systems, if you're running a 120 or a 240 volt system, that's costing you money as well. So I would be curious to see how many of you use electric brew systems and how much it actually affects your electric bill, especially if you're pushing on a 240 volt system. I know my water bill kind of stays the same. I got 3 grown adults in my house, and my water bill seems to stay the same whether I'm brewing that week or that month or not. And I run my sprinklers too. So I'm in Central Texas. My water bill is always less than about $100 a month, and that's if I got showers, dishes, laundry, brewing beer, and run the sprinklers depending on the time of year. So I feel like that's also very fair as well. But I'd be interested to see, what kind of costs you guys really weren't expecting to be spending when you started home brewing. So let me know in the comments below. So before we start today's video, I had a couple questions. What is your house beer? if I went to your house and you had beer on tap, on bottles, what would be your house beer? My house beer I call Frank's Ale. Frank is my German Shepherd. He is the Sunset Hound in Sunset Hound Brewing. It's his picture in the background. His beer is a British Golden Ale. I've made this beer dozens of times. I perfected the recipe. It's locked in. I got the yeast down, the fermentation time, the temperature, the hops count, the boil time, everything. I can brew this beer without looking at the recipe. It's amazing. It's always on tap here in my house. If the keg kicks, I always got a keg somewhere else in the house hidden, ready to go. So yeah, I just want to know, what is your house beer? What style? Why did you pick that style? Do you have a rotation? You know, either a summer beer or a winter beer? You know, what do you have? So please let me know in the comments below. So I was trying to find out what else I got in my videos to make them a little more interesting. You know, I'm competing with a lot of you good guys out there, so I decided I'm going to start wearing the local brew shirts that I got. Actually, I have probably enough brew shirts that I don't get to buy t-shirts for a while. So today's shirt is Barking Armadillo. They're up in Georgetown, Texas, North Austin, just a little south of me. Locally owned craft brewery, really good people over there. They got an outside patio stage, always got local music there, always got the best food trucks. They got arcade in there, kid, dog friendly, everything about them is great. I recommend their Quarantine IPA. I got into them when I got back from my last work trip. I scrolled on Instagram, Facebook, I saw this thing called Quarantine IPA. I'm like, I gotta try that. So I headed on down there, got it, bought myself a 4-pack. And great people, great environment. So if you're ever in the North Austin area, please check them out. And look forward to the next shirt, which I got to go in my closet and see who I'm going to wear next. So have fun, you guys.